Hi everyone, I'm Moose, and I remember when radiation was all it took to make horrifying mutants. But these days, splicing genes has replaced splitting atoms as sci-fi's go-to boogeyman, and that hits a little closer to home. Genetic engineering is one of the fastest growing fields in science, but what if we've been so preoccupied with whether or not we could, we never stopped to think if we should? What if all those super jacked cows and glow-in-the-dark mice rise up against us? Well, in the movies at least, we know The Rock's always willing to layeth the smacketh down on some rampaging genetic freaks, but let's cut the people's champ a break. He is a very busy guy. Wake up every morning, 5 a.m., clanging and banging in the gym. So if you're knee-deep in DNA trying to make ligers a reality, one look at these cautionary tales of fictional genetic fiddling should make you stop and wonder, what could go wrong with altering animals? Now, we've been messing around with genes for thousands of years, since before we even knew what they were. Selective breeding gave us big yellow bananas, seedless grapes, and adorable little squishy-faced dogs that wouldn't survive for a single second out in the wilderness. And now that we've developed more direct methods of gene editing like CRISPR...
Are you familiar with CRISPR?
Yeah, genetic engineering.
It's more like genetic editing.
Feels like we're one step away from sharktopie and killer tomatoes.
Vicious man-eating tomatoes grow to monstrous proportions. Tomato.
And in the real world, when genetic modification goes awry, the worst that happens is a non-viable embryo or out-of-control cancer. But on the big screen, the consequences are a little more cinematic and a lot more catastrophic. Even if you're a big, brainy scientist with good intentions, you could still end up with terrifying test subjects. It's an unfortunate fact of life that science relies on animal testing, but it's not like we have to deal with armies of super smart mice and fruit flies.
What are we gonna do tomorrow night?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky.
Try to take over the world!
Still, it's not something to be proud of, which is how this trope developed in the first place. H.G. Wells wrote The Island of Dr. Moreau in 1896 as a protest of the cruelty science was inflicting on animals. In the book, the titular doctor creates humanoid hybrids through torturous surgery. But adaptations like the disastrous 1996 film starring Marlon Brando usually explore the modern morality of genetic experimentation.
Oh my God.
Moreau's beast folk reject humanity and murder their creator. And considering he had no real goals besides, wouldn't it be cool if I could turn a goat into Ron Perlman? I'm not shedding any tears for him or his weird little doppelganger. Most movies provide a better motive, like in the 2009 horror film Splice, where some scientists trying to revolutionize medicine create a human-animal hybrid named Dren. The CEO is less than impressed with the results. But Dren's constantly evolving physiology makes her irresistible to her creators. Literally, if you were grossed out by the idea of fishy sex in the shape of water, just wait till you see Splice. Ugh. In Deep Blue Sea, scientists in search of a cure for Alzheimer's create super intelligent sharks, which makes you wonder who really needs the brain upgrade. Sharks are scary enough when they're broken rubber models named after your lawyer, let alone smart enough to swim backwards. Because that's the whole thing in the movie. It's like, oh my God, they could swim backwards.
Impossible. Sharks do not swim backwards, they can't.
They learn how to swim backwards, we're all f***ed. They even get the drop on Samuel L. when he expects it the least, right in the middle of his big inspirational speech.
We're gonna seal off this.
The new Planet of the Apes trilogy also revolves around Alzheimer's research. James Franco whips up a cure for his dad, John Lithgow, and indirectly ends humanity's stint as the dominant life form on Earth. Had a great run, guys.
God damn you! God damn you all to hell!
The brain gas uplifted the apes into an army of precocious, pissed-off primates, and if they don't kill you, the mutated super flu will, so maybe let's leave the simians alone for a while. We turned The Rock's albino buddy George into a hulking war machine, and that was by accident. It's an even worse idea to create scruffy soldiers on purpose. Jurassic Park might be the poster child for genetic engineering gone wrong, but at least InGen wasn't breeding dinos to become weapons. They just wanted some fun, authentic theme park attractions.
Really spectacular, spared no expense. Absolutely spectacular design, spared no expense.
Some spliced in frog DNA spoiled all the fun and let life, well...
Life, finds a way.
Instead of learning their lesson, they doubled down in Jurassic World. The Indominus Rex is a hybrid of at least a dozen creatures. On the surface, it's to provide a badass new attraction for us jaded millennials who don't appreciate the classics, but secretly, it was all part of Henry Wu's plan to weaponize his creations and sell them to the highest bidder. The killer chimera was no match for Mother Nature or Bryce Dallas Howard in heels. And Wu escaped with some more hybrid embryos, but we'll have to wait for the sequel to find out what he's planning. Maybe he's been headhunted by the Umbrella Corporation. After all, the Resident Evil baddies built their brand on playing God. They created the lizard-like hunters, giant spiders and snakes, and monster dogs, custom engineered to crash through windows at the precise moment to scare the living shit out of you. Bioorganic weapons run amok make perfect video game villains. After all, that's where Rampage comes from. Although in the arcade classic, the monsters are originally humans. And when you die, you just kind of shrink down, get completely naked, which I'm not going to do, and they just kind of do this. Plenty of other modified mutants have followed in George, Lizzie, and Ralph's giant footsteps and become more than just cannon fodder. There's the ultimate life form.
Shadow the Hedgehog!
A hedgehog spliced with alien DNA. No Chaos Emerald is safe from his rollerblades and rocking arsenal, but the real damage was done to the respectability of the Sonic franchise, a sentence I can't believe I just said with a straight face. I am a grown-ass man.
Chaos Control!
My favorite example of genomes gone wild in games is Mewtwo, a Pokemon modified from the ultra-rare Mew.
We dreamed of creating the world's strongest Pokemon, and we succeeded.
This psychic, telekinetic death machine threatened total destruction of the Kanto region, but even worse, and maybe the worst consequence in this whole video, it made Pikachu cry. He's so pure, he's very special. There's something special about that little Pokemon. Pika! Sometimes when you mess with an animal's DNA, you wind up with something smarter than you. Sometimes you wind up with a hideous chimera, and sometimes you just get some big old beasts. Guillermo del Toro is no stranger to giant monsters, although he didn't start out with colossal kaiju. In his first American film, Mimic, cockroaches are spreading a deadly disease throughout New York City. An entomologist creates a variant called the Judas breed, which kills off the cockroach carriers. They tried to pull a John Hammond by only breeding females, but 3 years later, they've evolved the equivalent of 10,000 generations, resulting in a 6-foot-tall roach that can impersonate a human being and come straight out of my worst nightmares. Bugs and creepy crawlies are bad enough, but even the cuddliest critters are at risk of turning into towering terrors, like in
Night of the Lepus,
a 1972 movie starring Janet Leigh and only one Rory Calhoun. Now, you might think those are normal-sized rabbits hopping on miniatures with ketchup on their cute little whiskers, but actually, thanks to a special serum, those are actually some humongous hairs. And when those big-ass bunnies go on the blitz, they damn near take out an entire town. Now, not all giant animals are evil or dangerous. Sometimes they can be just as docile as their domesticated counterparts. Just look at the spliced up super pig from the heartwarming Korean film who becomes best friends with a little girl named Mija. Now, these bad boys could do some serious damage if they ever realize how gigantic and genetically superior they are, but sadly they suffer the same tragic fate as smaller swine. Now, if you want to talk giant beasts that have it all, smarts, strength, and size, look no further than Rampage. The Rock plays an animal trainer who shares a bond with George, a super smart silverback gorilla he raised from birth. After a mysterious object falls from the sky and mutates him into a mammoth monster, it's up to the Great One to soothe the savage beast and help him take down the other two abominations, tearing their way through America's heartland. Lizzie, the colossal crocodile hybrid, and Ralph, the whatever the hell Ralph is.
Oh, you didn't know about the 30-foot wolf?
That's the thing with genetic engineering, or at least the on-screen version. It's unnatural, immoral, and a lot of innocent people end up as dinner. But if you still want to persist in playing God, just remember, it's all fun and games until a giant flying squirrel wolf smashes through a skyscraper.
Of course, the wolf flies.
Hi everybody, thank you for watching. If you like this video and you want to see more, you can click right there and check out our other What Could Go Wrongs. We've done super soldiers, time travel, and that's about it so far, but we want some more ideas from you. What are some tropes you'd like us to talk about that always go horribly wrong? Please leave a comment, let us know, and as always, please subscribe to Now This Nerd.